Welcome back to the Undo Summer School. We are now deep in the IT phase, the part of our journey that's all about systems, strategy, and structures that shape how we work. Today's episode is called Meetings, Metrics, and Meaning, and we are going to be looking at the daily rhythms of work. Your calendars, your check-ins, your dashboards. And we're going to ask, do they reflect what actually matters, or are we just spinning our wheels on autopilot? Here's the thing. You can set all the visionary goals you like, but if the day-to-day doesn't support them, if your meetings are draining, if your metrics are empty, and if your time is consumed by noise, then something is off. And this episode is about realigning your routines with your values. It's about making the mundane meaningful. So, let's get into it. Our heart lesson is why the day-to-day matters. So I want to start with a quote that I really love. How we spend our days is, of course, how we spend our lives. We often treat the big stuff, strategy, vision, goals, as the real work, and the day-to-day, admin, logistics, that's just the boring stuff that we've got to get through. I'm going to burst your bubble. The day-to-day is the work. Your weekly team meeting is culture in motion. Your choice of what you're measuring tells your team what matters. Your calendar is a map of your values, whether you mean it to be or not. And if we're not careful, the noise will creep in. You find yourself in back-to-back meetings with no clear purpose. You're tracking KPIs that no one understands or believes in. You're busy, but you're not making progress. I've lived this. I've led teams where we were drowning in status updates and firefighting, but no one was really asking the bigger questions, or not often enough anyway. And eventually I realized the rhythms of our week are not supporting the vision. They were just keeping us going, keeping us afloat. And so today's episode is about reclaiming those rhythms. It's about slowing down long enough to ask, what are we doing? Why are we doing it? And how do we make it better? So our head lesson today is making sense of meetings, metrics, and meaning. So we're going to break it down into those three parts. Meetings, metrics, meaning. I told you I love alliteration. I love that. So, 1, meetings. Are they a tool or are they a trap? The average person spends 25 to 50% of their work week in meetings. And in most organizations, meetings multiply faster than the value that they produce. So some distinctions that help is this meeting decision-making or is it discussion? Right? It's important to know what kind of meeting it is, because if it's not clear, people don't know how to show up. Another thing to remember, status updates is not the same as collaboration. Can it be an email? Great, let it be an email. And another thing, recurring, and I feel like I'm going to trigger some people here, recurring does not mean it's relevant. Just because it's in the diary doesn't mean it has to stay there. So if you want to reflect on the shape of your diary, you can try this as a prompt. If we weren't already running this meeting, would we start it today? And if the answer is no, then maybe look at getting rid or editing it into something that has some meaning and some value. Okay, so ways to upgrade your meetings then. Start with intention. What is it we're here to achieve? And then end with action. Who's doing what when? Protect voices. Who hasn't spoken? Who always speaks first? Really think about contribution and allowing people the space to all contribute. That doesn't mean forcing people or putting anyone on the spot, mind you, but just making space for people who want to contribute. And then try and build in reflection. If it's a recurring meeting, maybe every month or every quarter you take a beat to reflect on, is this meeting still helping us or has it started to hinder us? And then amend accordingly. All right, 2, metrics. I'm going to I'm going to talk about some specific metrics, which are probably common to most of you listening. Of course, there were far, far more, but I'll talk about two that we hear a lot about: KPIs and OKRs. Again, sorry if that's caused you to shiver a little bit, but I do want to talk about the meaning behind them. So let's get into this jargon that we love to hate. KPIs are key performance indicators and OKRs are objectives and key results. Now, listen, they're not bad ideas, but I think it's fair to say in lots of companies, somewhere along the line, they lost their meaning, they lost their soul, and they lost their value. So here's a cheat sheet, right? KPIs measure outcomes, aka did we hit the number? OKRs measure direction, aka are we moving towards what matters? Where they fail is that often they track what's easy to count, not what actually does count. They can be imposed without getting buy-in from the right people or enough people. And they can become somehow weapons when it's time for performance reviews. But where they shine is that they do clarify focus and they can align teams without the need for micromanaging when done well. And they can give people a way to measure progress towards a shared purpose. The best metrics will answer the question, how will we know we're doing well, beyond the obvious? All right. A strong OKR will sound like this. Objective: improve team well-being and effectiveness. Key result 1, reduce average overtime by 20%. Key result 2, 85% of the team report feeling improved focus and energy on the Pulse survey. Key result 3, 100% of staff take all annual leave. Does that make sense? I'm really hoping that starts to demystify and make sense of some of the jargon that we hear around things like KPIs and OKRs. Okay, that's what it looks like when your metrics support your meaning, rather than just the margins. Okay, and talking about meaning, let's get into it. What story are your systems telling? All of this that we're talking about, meetings, metrics, your daily grind, all of it is telling a story. If your meetings are reactive, the story is chaos. If your metrics are financial only, the story is profit over people. If your calendar is wall-to-wall meetings, the story is busyness equals value. You can't fake culture. Culture lives in the routines. And meaning doesn't come from some grand mission statement on the wall. It comes from how we do things day in, day out. This is all about values in practice. It's about systems that align with purpose. It's about turning your working week into an act of leadership, not just management. Our hands lesson for today is how to create rhythms that reflect what matters. Okay, so let's get practical. This is how you can start reshaping your day-to-day. The first thing you're going to do, which will be a surprise to absolutely nobody, is audit your calendar. Ask yourself, what meetings are truly essential? Which ones can be reworked or removed altogether? Do I have protected focus time baked into my calendar? Is there time to think, not just do? Then cancel, consolidate, clarify, do the needful. 2, redesign meetings for meaning. Now, I'm going to get strict with you. And maybe this is a personal bugbear. I cannot stand meetings that are just popped into my diary with absolutely nothing, no structure. You're like, what is this? Okay. So every meeting should have a clear purpose, a right-sized invite list. It's not for every Tom, Dick or Harry. Invite who needs to be there and don't waste other people's time. You can always feedback notes, right? Be clear on roles. Who's facilitating? Who's contributing? Who perhaps is just there to observe if they want to? Take notes. Be clear on actions and follow-ups, okay? And thinking about meetings, if it's possible within the kind of business you're in, and if you have the capacity to enact this or at least suggest it, you might want to try something where all of you have the space to think or to do deep focus work or just get away from your screens. So you could try something like no meetings Monday, or meetings free Wednesday, or no Zoom after lunchtime on Fridays, or something like that, where everybody, it's almost like a mini bank holiday where nobody is doing it, right? So we can all just get on with other things that require a different type of focus. Another thing is, let's make metrics meaningful. So whether it's your team or for your own development, ask yourself, what are we tracking? Why are we tracking it? And what would a better measure look like? And then invite your team into that process. Let them help shape what success means, because once they do that, they've got skin in the game and you're working together toward a shared goal, right? And then don't forget to build reflection into your routine. Set up short monthly or quarterly retrospectives. Really, really simple. You don't need to over-engineer it. Ask yourself, what's working? What's not? What's dragging? What have we learned? You don't need PowerPoint. You can do this with a few Post-it notes. Or, listen, you could just sit in a circle and have an honest conversation. Okay? Even 15 minutes of truthful reflection and retrospection can prevent 15 hours of misaligned activity. Okay, and the last one here within our hands lesson is, and I've said this before, and I really, really mean it, lead by example. If you don't respect people's time, no one else will. If you ignore well-being metrics, they will too. If your diary is chaos, your team will copy it. So model the rhythm you want to see. Okay. Now, everything I'm saying here is and I hope this is clear, it's not about becoming some sort of productivity ninja. If you are an Undo podcast listener, you know how I feel about that word. We've got an episode in season 2 about productivity, so you can hear my unfiltered thoughts there. This is all about becoming a more intentional leader. So this week, just go on, take one of your meetings off your calendar or rework it so that it actually serves your team properly. Or take a look at your metrics and ask yourself, do these reflect what we value, or is this just what we're able to measure? Just choose one thing to make more meaningful, and I promise you, you will not regret it. If this is something you want support with, I do run sessions that help individuals and teams build working rhythms that serve them rather than drain them. So you can visit thisisworkwell.com/work with us to find out more, because I believe that real leadership isn't about being everywhere at once. It's about designing systems that make space for what matters the most. And with that, my love, I will see you next Monday. Bye.